What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. We've been waiting on news for 3 of the 12 CDL teams to announce or have their rosters leaked: Carolina, Vegas, and Los Angeles Guerrillas. Now, we don't have news yet on LAG. I'll get to that at the end of the video. We do have some news via Jacob Hale about the Carolina and Vegas roster. Let's step through it. Talk about who is rumored to be joining both these teams. We have full kind of squad rumors. I'll talk about my thoughts, whether I think it's a good decision, bad decision, what are sort of the key players early on in the season I'm looking for these squads, and then we'll kind of wrap it up at the end. So let's dive in. All right, so let's start with Carolina, because I know a lot of you are Clayster fans probably watching this one. A couple of days ago, there was sort of a semi-leak of this roster. Jacob Hale tweeted on the 26th that Carolina Royal Ravens is signing Clayster, GodRX, and Real for the 2023-24 season. And they hadn't yet decided on a player who's going to run a sub for the 4th. And it seems like, based on Jake's reporting yesterday, if we scroll down, this is from October 28th at 3:41 a.m. Local time. So Jake tweeted this out probably when he woke up after he took care of the kids in the morning. He tweeted, "My understanding is now that Gwyn is now the front runner for the final spot on this team." What are my thoughts on this roster? Let's start with the sub duo of Real and Gwyn. Two players who I think had an opportunity to potentially showcase last year in the CDL sort of mid-season, but for a number of different reasons, neither player ended up doing so. I think for Real, there's actually, from my understanding, more of a visa situation is why he went back to Europe in the middle of the season. Otherwise, I think based on how that rocker situation broke out with Fame and Dylan getting benched and yada yada yada, I think he would have come in this situation, but due to legal reasons, he wasn't able to do so. I assume at this point, considering he's getting linked to this roster, they've already solved his P1 stuff. And he's a guy that played amazing at the beginning of the year in Challengers. There was a lot of hype coming into Real, and I'm excited to see what he can do in a sub position here. And he's being paired with Gwyn, who's a player that we talked a lot about on the flank last year. Wanted to see Seattle experiment with bringing him in because clearly with Mac it was not working. Gwyn is a player who I think is amazing to really above average in search, which I think is what this team is definitely going to need. So I'm really excited to see this young sub duo play. I think the flip side of that is that there is like essentially zero CDL experience with the sub players here. So it's going to be some up and downs with this Carolina team. I wouldn't be surprised, and we'll get to it in a second, that they're going to need their ARs to step up in the beginning of the year while their sub players kind of find their foothold through the first couple of events. But if this team can kind of stick it together for a while and develop these young players, I like the core there. So let's talk about the ARs, because I think these are names that people know. Obviously, GodRX is someone that has played really good in Challengers the last couple of years. Basically, GodRX has had sort of an interesting journey in the CWL or CDL era. After CWL, he was on that rocker team in year 1 in Modern Warfare 2019. It was like an early candidate for MVP through like the first 2 events of the season. But once COVID hit, there were significant team issues within that rocker camp. And I think if I got GodRX, we got GodRX on the flank, I think he could speak more about it. I think there were certain things that he could have done better individually in that situation to be a better teammate, both on the map and in practice. And from my understanding, that led to why he ended up getting benched on that roster. And then he's been kind of out of sort of CDL picture for the last couple of years, even though he's been on some solid Challengers teams and now won Challengers champs. So I think now sort of he's now gotten his next chance to shine, and he's playing with a player in Clayster that's going to allow GodRX to kind of play the way he wants. GodRX is not a super lightning fast AR, but I don't think he needs to be so with Clayster on the team. I think he needs to play his game. And again, speaking about the lack of the sub players, GodRX has been around for an extremely long time as far as competitive Call of Duty goes. Need him to get at a good level to start the season so they can kind of backstop the sub players. And that gets me to, I think, who is the complete and utter X factor of this team, and that's Clayster. Because listen, we know what Clay can bring at his best. There's a reason this guy is one of the best players of all time in the history of Call of Duty. There's a reason that he's got multiple champs, rings, event wins, etc., etc., etc. This guy knows what it takes to win at this level. I think the big thing for me looking at Clay on this team, one is obviously he is sort of on a different spot in his career from the previous years where he was on a contender. And so we don't know how many years left Clay has. In the last couple of teams he's been on, he's been up and down individually. New York, obviously the Vanguard year, we all know how that went. Y'all probably seen the flank episode. And then last season he got off to a slow start, started to play better, but Vegas really didn't qualify. And I want to kind of hammer this home by taking a look at some breaking point stats. I pulled up here sort of Vegas's team, and this gets to my point. I think with this, how raw the sub players are, they need players like Clay to really step up in the beginning of the season and be sort of a plus slayer to slightly above average. So looking at like stage 1 last year, the numbers for Clay Search were great. I mean, they were a great team, but at Respawn, he really struggled in stage 1. And then Major 2, stage 2, he started to play a little bit better, but you see still not the overall slaying numbers you want to see in Respawn from Clay. Now look, at the end of the season, if we factor it all in, you know, he started to kind of improve these numbers and step up the Respawn numbers a little bit. But my point is, I think in order to make this team work, you're going to need to see Clay really be floating around that 1 to like a 0.97. I think GodRX is going to be their plus AR Slayer based on the way that he's going to play on power positions. They need Clay to be a positive contributor, I think, in like trade scenarios and just kind of one-on-one situations with the AR that will allow their sub players, I think, the freedom to do what they want and kind of take the pressure off them to really have to be like amazing right off the bat, especially in Respawn. Because I actually think, just to sort of kind of summarize my thoughts on this team, I actually think looking at this roster in Search, I actually think this will be a really solid Search team because combo with Brian Saint, Clay, GodRX, Gwyn Real, like I just think that group is going to be really good in S&D. We're going to see like the Vegas squad. Now, will they be good in the rumored controlled third game mode or hardpoint is the biggest question as to whether or not this team is going to open the year as a top 6, top 8 team or like Vegas last season, which is they're scrapping together wins, but they're still going to be sort of in that 10th to 9th spot, really struggling to try and qualify for champs. So I am excited to see how this team performs at the beginning of the season. I actually think this is a good solid roster build out of the guys at Carolina. I really tip Brian and I guess Clay for putting this one together because there could have been a lot of worse options, but I like this one. Another set of reporting here from Jacob Hale sources. Vegas agent to sign fan favorite roster for the 23-24 season. Interesting headline. Let's see though if it matches the team that they're building. And we scroll down, we scroll down, we scroll down. According to sources close to the situation, Vegas Legion will be bringing in Eli Standy Bentz back in the fold as an SMG player and surrounding him with 3 new players, including 1 rookie. Set to join Standy is Dylan Tatch Price, Dylan Nero Koch, and 2022 Challengers champion Purge. So, interesting team. Let's go kind of roll by roll here and get my thoughts. So, first off, we have the Nero and Standy kind of sub duo. I actually really kind of think this is sort of an interesting sub duo. I know Mac was supposed to be on this team, but I actually think Nero might actually be a better fit this team than Mac because I expect Nero to always be applying pressure. And I think that balances well with sort of a more methodical, long route, kind of corner playing, flank play style that Standy has really sort of brought to the CDL since he joined Rocker in the Cold War year. So you're kind of playing the Standy strengths, which I think are really key to kind of get the best out of him. When you play him out of system, you've seen what's happened, you know, second year, that Rocker tenure, it's not great. So they got to kind of work around his play style, not the other way around. And I think they're doing a good job here of finding a good sub duo. I liked Nero on Boston last year. And obviously I know the team situation was a little funky at the end of the year. They were kind of throwing stuff at a wall because they felt like they weren't going to win. But as far as what was available out there in the submachine gun land, this is a pretty good duo, I think, from my end to see. And obviously I know Mac, again, was linked to this roster and I know his family is going through issues. So we wish him the best of luck there. And I want to see Mac, you know, make some kind of inroads this season in the CDL. Then we get to the AR duo, and this one is interesting to me. So it seems like obviously no Donnie Temp this year on Vegas. Don talked about it over the summer that wasn't really the type of situation he wanted to be in this year. He'd much rather play challengers and get on a better team mid-season, which is a risk, but I kind of respect Don for trying to bet on himself to fry in challengers and get into, I think, more of a contender situation as an AR in the middle of the year. And I you know, it's worth a shot. We have Dylan Attach. I'm really surprised if you had told me a couple years ago that a player like Attach would end up on Vegas. Definitely wouldn't have seen that. But I think it kind of makes sense if you look at sort of how the ARs have distributed themselves on the teams. Dylan's moved again away from, or not again, has moved away from the sub role he was known for. He's been more of a main AR the last like year. So those spots are hard to come by, and Vegas is kind of one of the last ones left. So here we are. You know, the expectation for Dylan is to come in his team and provide about a 105 if he can do it, be a really solid all 3 game modes player, provide some leadership considering some of the young players and the coaching staff on the squad, and we'll get to that. So pairing him with Purge, I think that's definitely interesting. You know, Purge played really solid in challengers this year as an AR. Liked his contributions there. Curious to see what he can do at this level. You just sort of never really know. So Dylan finding chemistry with Purge and kind of getting him to play that he wants to set up the right way will be really key. This Vegas team kind of early on, The problem with like your Carolinas, your Vegas, your LAGs of the world is that you know that Faze is going to play really good this season. You know Optic's going to play really good this season. You know Toronto is going to be there or thereabouts. New York. So your ability to get, you know, 60, 70, 80 points in the first couple of splits are really difficult. And what you don't want to do early in the season is be kind of scrapping by and stuck kind of, you know, at the bottom of the pile of teams trying to get in that top 8. Again, we're assuming that's the same chance format as last season here. Trying to get in that top 8 for playoffs, champs, whatever you want to call it. And it really kind of coming down to the last couple stages. You want to try and get as many points early as possible so you don't get stuck in sort of the mid-season kind of dip in form that you have to get yourself out of. So when I look at this AR duo on paper, it's not too bad. I actually kind of like the thought process. Will they actually execute it based on sort of performances of these players, the unknowns? I don't really know. And my other concern, I think in general for Vegas, to me, is really the coaching staff. When we look at sort of a resource standpoint of Vegas compared to other teams, I'm very curious to see if they're bringing on an analyst. I think the rumor was Sam Phoenix is going to join on as a coach. And, you know, I like Sam, definitely more of a vibes guy than I think someone like one of the ex-players like a Cap or Clay, who I think is a little bit more of an understanding of how to get a team on a system on a tactical level. So I think there's going to be an onus on the players to sort of get ahead early. And I think that they don't necessarily have the resources to do that. So I don't hate the sort of decisions here by Vegas. I think it makes a lot of sense to me, considering what's available out there. That being said, my expectations for this team are low because I just don't. Listen, we can't say every team here has got top 8, top 6 upside. Someone's getting 12th. And I feel like this is unfortunately a team that, to me, is going to be one of the bottom teams this year in the league. They may surprise. They may come into, you know, this major going 2-3 online again, assuming that we have the same format as last year. I have no idea. They can be. I think they're going to be one of those teams, though, that just we're going to see losing a lot of losers round 1 throughout the year, and it is what it is. So we'll see if they can compete. All right, so a lot of you probably want to know the fish of this video, what's going on with LAG. My response to that is I don't know. I've asked around a lot of rumors, and the problem with LAG is honestly everybody's kind of left the org. There's maybe 1 or 2 people left. So my thought process at this point, in considering that situation, a lack of rumors, is I'm thinking, considering now that Carolina seems to be locked, Vegas seems to be locked, they have a lot of ex-LAG players sort of floating out there in the ether. I'm talking about guys like Adam Assault, Asim, Gunless, etc., etc., etc. And I have a feeling that they may sign 1 or 2 of those former players because those are just the ones available out there now. And we'll see what kind of teams they can build, or they'll build with the org. So once I have LAG rumors, I'll report it. But at the moment, it is complete utter silence coming out of their camp. And I think the only rumors are kind of coming from, you know, and when I say rumors, these are like very light, you know, conversational things that I hear coming out of the challenger scene. IK, like LAG has talked to people, but I don't think they've committed or really said, hey, we're signing you to like any 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 players. There's no solid rumors yet on LAG, and once I have them, I'll report them for you guys. So that's it for this video. Let me know what you think of the Carolina and Vegas rosters. Do you like them? Let me know. Like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.